joining me for our weekly I Ching overview for this week, the week commencing the 11th of July, 2022. Last week we had lots of gentle energy as the ice melted and things were blown away and revealed. Perhaps there were some surprises for you last week. What emerged out of the ice as this gentle thaw of hexagram 59 dispersing came to warm and melt things that are locked up and frozen? What started to unravel and release and become more accessible and become easier and become more in tune with where you want to go next? And of course, our second hexagram 57, the gentle, the beautiful, wonderful doubling of wind energy coming to move the sand dune a grain at a time. This wonderful nurturing energy to shape the world that we're in through gentle means, and what was gently being moved through flexibility and adaptability, what was coming to the fore for you last week. So if you had some insights you'd like to share, as always, it'd be great to have a comment from you as you share your thoughts. Right, so let's get into this week's episode. What are we being asked to pay attention to as we focus our attention for this week? What is the thing that's binding us all together as we focus on this week? So we start off this week, our first main flow of change for this week is hexagram 20, contemplation. As we look at the structure of this hexagram, you can see there's a whole lot of female lines, two little male lines right at the top, and it makes the symbol of a tower. Okay, so it almost looks like the Arc de Triomphe. Okay, and the tower is a symbol of the place we go to when we want to understand something from a bigger perspective. Contemplation, hexagram 20. This week, what we're being asked to pay attention to is to climb the tower and to see things from an elevated perspective. When we try and look into the room through a keyhole and we observe what we think is the entire story, but we're just getting a little slice, then we are not contemplating the full picture. We are contemplating only the bit that we can see. And so this week, we're being asked to see things from a higher elevated perspective. Now, a great way of understanding this hexagram is through the idea of the overview effect, which was a term coined in 1987 by Frank White. And it tries to explain the concept of what happens to astronauts when they go out into space and they look down at our beautiful blue marble and they go, oh my goodness, everything that I thought was a problem, everything that I got myself stuck into, all the dramas of life, all the everyday things of life, when I get to, with my own senses, get to experience Earth from this shuttle ship, whatever it is, pod, I see the world in a completely different way. And I see this beautiful, fragile place that we call home, and it changes people in profound ways. And so astronauts often go through this profound transformation in the way they see themselves and their world once they have seen our blue marble from space. I experienced this once going to the planetarium, where you've got this 180-degree camera and you're lying back on these chairs and you look and you just see Earth and this little blue marble in space, all this blackness of space, and you see this beautiful thing just circulating around the sun, and you just think, oh my goodness, this puts me back into perspective. This puts me back into understanding myself and my dramas and my issues and the world's issues, no matter what's going on, and there's a lot going on for us all right now. It puts things in perspective. Okay, so we're going to think about our beautiful, fragile blue marble this week, and we're going to endeavor to focus our attention on seeing things from a new perspective, from an elevated perspective. So how does this apply in your life, in your business? It's time this week perhaps to re-look at some old assumptions, to re-look at the strategy, re-look at the team, is get new perspectives in. Perhaps if you're struggling with an issue you can't understand, or you're looking at it and you can't see the way to move forward, get an outside perspective to shift the way you're looking at it, because we get very caught in old grooves, in old ways of seeing something. And then we're not seeing the bigger picture. We're stuck in the micro. This week, there's something we need to see. There's a decision that we need to make, and the way that we contemplate this problem and think about the solution is we lift ourselves up to the top of the tower, looking down on the blue marble and focusing on understanding ourselves in a new way. So in our businesses, that might be just taking time out to rethink your strategy, rethink your team, rethink the assumptions you've made about what are the challenges you're facing and the opportunities that are in front of you. Go out into outer space and look down and see what can you see differently, because we're now sitting at the top of the tower looking down as opposed to on the ground. It's like a little mouse compared to the eagle, right? When we're a little mouse scurrying along the ground, we can only see what's really in front of us in the here and now. When we're the eagle, we can see the little mouse, okay, there's a little snack. But what we're seeing is a much bigger perspective. We're seeing the curvature of the earth, and we're really seeing and taking in our world and our situation from a new way. So we have to change our perspective. Wherever you feel blocked, locked, stuck, change the way you are seeing the situation. Lift up the level of your thinking, the quality of your thinking, the quality of your perspective, lift it up to a new level. And that may require asking someone who has perspective, who's an outsider or can see things differently, who's perhaps not emotionally attached to what you're going through, is to look in for you and look with you into the situation with new eyes and be open to what you learn. So if you're having problems in your team, for example, one way might be to get your team together in a huddle and have an open dialogue as to what's really going on and what are the other perspectives in the room that you can't see as a leader because you're seeing it from your perspective only or from your executive team's perspective only. Get insight from a broader point of view. Don't get stuck in your own thinking, okay? We cannot move and shift if we do that. Broaden your perspective. Look at the marble, okay? Zoom out of the situation and look back in and see it in a new way. And so the tower and contemplation is a gift that has come to us this week. We have two changing lines in the third and the sixth position, okay? So the sixth position we've spoken about before, when we have a line there, it's an exiting process, something that's culminating and reaching its fulfillment. When we have something in the third position, this is an interesting, tricky transition place from the bottom three lines or trigram to the top three lines of the trigram. We're crossing the chasm. So let's get stuck into what these changing lines are bringing us as something specific. So changing line 3, okay, transitionary. And we're standing on the threshold, about to cross over from ourselves, being the lower trigram, to the top, being the outer world. We're crossing some kind of decision-making process. And we're saying, should I go forward? Should I pull back? Should I connect? Should I withdraw? Should I say yes? Should I say no? Okay, so this situation will refer to some particular aspect of your life or your business where there is vacillation or indecision as to what you should do. So, what does contemplation come to bring us for this situation? It says the way we contemplate this is we look at the decision that we're wanting to make. And we say to ourselves, when we've done this before, when we have made this decision, this type of decision before, when we were here before, and I made this decision, something similar, what did that create in me and in my world? So we look at the result of past actions. Okay, so we're looking back on the bottom three lines, we're looking forward, and we're saying we're making the decision of what did a similar thing create for us. And what does that mean? What did it create in me? Okay, in my business, in my life, in my team. So there's a process here of re-looking at what were the fruits of the labors, what did we get when we did this before, and using that as your litmus test for deciding to move forward or withdraw. Now, in the sixth position, this changing line, the culmination, because we've now got to the top of the tower, it does refer to the culmination of our perspective. And it talks about looking back on the situation with a perspective of the wise person, okay, who's been through the whole process, who's got perspective, who can see the bigger picture. And what you can see is you can see the impact you have had on your ecosystem, okay, the impact that your business has had on its ecosystem and its people. And when you look at the bigger perspective, not just contemplating my strategy and my life and my business here, but contemplating my role in the ecosystem, because now we're at the top of the tower, we are elevated in this structure to the highest degree. we can see where it is that we are there to serve. What is it that we're supposed to do? And we can make decisions based on principle and what is the highest and the best. Okay, right. What would the master do in the situation? How would the master uplift the ecosystem? And that's what we need to lean into. That can guide our contemplation. So there's two very interesting processes. Maybe they apply to two different aspects of our lives or our business. Let's see how it goes for you. One is we need to make a decision and we need to cross the chasm. And how do we make that decision? Yes, we go and we look at what previous decisions like that created for us, and we make a decision related thereto. And the second one is, let us have a look at the ecosystem, our role within that ecosystem, our impact, and lift the level of our contemplation to be at master level. We think about our role and we think about how can I serve the broadest possible mandate in this moment? How can I bring my best self, my business's best self to this ecosystem I am part of? And then we look at how this week is transforming and relating. We are moving from this idea of contemplation, transforming the week to hexagram 39, obstruction. Okay, that might seem like a downer after this beautiful tower where we can see everything for miles. Okay, so obstruction as an energy, as a state of change, as a lesson for us to work through and focus on this week. Obstruction is all about how do we deal with an obstacle in the road. You've heard me talk about this example of you going along your merry path on your mountain hike, and it's a beautiful day, and you come around the corner, should be coming around the mountain, okay, you can hear that playing, and there is this big boulder in the path. And the immature soul tries to bash that boulder out the way with sheer force. Okay, I'm going to ram and hit this thing and put my effort in. The way to solve problems is by brute force. Okay, forcing this thing out the way. Oh no, all that's going to happen is you're going to need to find some bandages for all the head wounds that are going to accrue to you, right? So obstruction comes to bring us a focus, an attention on going around problems and finding new creative ways of dealing with the things that are blocking our path, the walls. Usually that means calling on friends, all right? Safety in numbers, call on friends, rally in people who can help, work as a team to trellis up and find a way around this boulder and pull each other up and get around it. Okay, so there's something around this week where we're going to face some obstruction, personally or professionally or in business. And in particular, this week, the I Ching says the way that we really deal with this, the way that we deal with the obstruction without all the drama and the head bashing, is we find a way around it. We take a moment out, we step back, we don't jump into solving this problem by brute force and by ramming ourselves into it. We take a step back and we go around and we try a different way. Okay, we get creative. Right? And so this week, that will help us deal with something that ordinarily would be unbelievably frustrating. How do we deal with obstacles? And for you in your business, in your personal life, stay tuned to what the obstruction is for you, because of course we'll all have obstruction in different ways. Physically, emotionally, mentally, where do we feel blocked? That'll be where our attention is needed to go. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode. Lots for us to contemplate and to work through. Please like, share, and subscribe. It'd be great to have you join us on the regular, and I look forward to seeing you at our next weekly overview. See you soon.